Hey everyone, David Aragona and Craig Milkowski here, taking a look at one of two stakes races on Saturday at Belmont Park. This is the one being run earlier in the day, race 3. It is the Wild Applause Stakes, going a mile on the Widener turf course for 3-year-old fillies. And Craig, it's not a trend that we like to see in racing, these small fields. Unfortunately, both of these stakes races drawn at Belmont Park on Saturday, just 5-horse fields. But at least what you can say about this one is that all 5 runners have a case to be made for them.
Yeah, no doubt. When I was looking at this one, I was hoping there'd be an easy toss or two, but there's not. Not one of the 5 would surprise me if they won in here.
Let's throw up the field for this race, the short field at that. And we've got 3 runners from the Chad Brown stable in here: Oakhurst, Lakota Spirit, and the horse that I pegged as the morning line favorite, the number 5, Eminent Victor. I'll be interested to see how they bet this race for a 5-horse field. I did agonize over this morning line quite a bit. Not sure how the public is going to assess this one. The number 4, Breeze Easy, another that could take money, going out for the Christophe Clement barn. And Craig, trips could be of utmost importance in this race because with this small field, you do generally want to save ground. Typically, most horses are able to work out decent trips. So we'll see who's aggressive here and is able to set the pace, because it doesn't feel like they're going to be moving that quickly up front.
No, the pace projector shows there's just not a lot of speed in this race. When you look at their running styles on Timeform US, there are no real speed horses. So it just kind of depend which riders get aggressive and how fast they go. I agree with the pace projector on the 2-horse Alcahira being in the front. She has shown dirt speed in the past. She's always up close. So that alone could make her pretty dangerous depending how quick she has to go.
Yeah, I also agree with that. The number 2, Alcahira, does look like the most likely early leader, having shown speed in some of her prior races. The number 3, Lakota Spirit, I suppose could be the most forwardly placed of the Chad Brown runners, though I think her position on the pace projector is maybe a bit more influenced by her dirt races than her turf race, in which she came from off the pace. But we'll talk about her and all of the others a little bit more in just a bit. Let's start, though, with that morning line favorite as we go through some of the contenders, or I should say the morning line second choice. That is the number 4, Breeze Easy. And we'll take a look at her finishing second in the Soaring Softly Stakes from just a month ago at the end of May, when she was going the 7-furlong distance in this Grade 3 event. And Craig, you're going to see right here, she gets a little bit squeezed between horses as the eventual winner, Shardy Party, ranges up alongside of her. Though when I watched this race, it didn't feel to me like she was ever going to beat that horse.
No, I would agree. It didn't really look like she lost any real momentum in there and just got outkicked a little bit late. It was a good, solid effort, but nothing that I think would make her a standout in a field this tough.
Yeah, and my biggest question for her, frankly, is the stretch out in distance. 7 furlongs last time is the farthest that she's ever gone before. She also tried that distance a couple times last year as a 2-year-old racing in France and England, but she's by Bated Breath, a sire that typically throws horses that want to go no farther than a mile, typically shorter distances than this. So I'm not totally convinced that she's going to want to get the extra furlong here, and I think she might have to improve a little bit because there are some pretty talented runners in here. So Breeze Easy, I should say, is one that I would consider, but I wanted to go slightly against her if she does take quite a bit of money in this race. Craig, I know a horse that you're a bit more interested in is the number 5, Eminent Victor. Let's take a look at her when she closed out her 2-year-old campaign in the Grade 1 Natalma up at Woodbine. And she was facing a pretty good field here at her first start for the Chad Brown barn and ran on decently for third.
Yeah, I thought she ran a good race here. And most importantly for me as a speed figure guy is she ran a 105 Timeform US speed figure that day in September of her 2-year-old season. And none of these other horses have hit the triple digits. I mean, they've all been running in the high 90s. But with any kind of improvement, I just think she is going to be really tough to beat. She is coming off that long layoff, but when you look at her workout, she's been working out pretty steadily since early February. She did have one break. Looks like she had a small hiccup back in April, but she was right back on the tab in the middle of May and has been working every week since. And we know Chad Brown, that when he brings them back, they're going to be ready. So I personally think she is the horse to beat.
Yeah, I have no real argument with anything that you're saying. She earned those nice speed figures last year, and like you said, if she doesn't have to improve much at all to be a competitive in this field, likely to be ready off the layoff, I just don't really know what to make of her. We've seen so little of her compared to some of the others in this race, and one of those races she ran last year was just a 5 furlong race over the Tapeta surface at the now shuttered Arlington Park. I thought she ran well last time in that Natalma, and it wasn't just the top two, Wild Beauty and Pizza Bianca. If you even scroll through that field in the Time Form US or DRF Formulator charts, there were horses that finished behind Eminent Victor that have come back to do some nice things subsequently, have confirmed the speed figures that race was assigned. So I think that she looks legit on the numbers. Just depends on whether she's ready to put forth the top effort coming back off the layoff against what is a pretty salty field, even though there are just 5 runners signed on. Let's also talk about the other Chad Brown runners in this field. The one that I'm most interested in is the number 1 Oakhurst. Let's take a look at her last victory when she won an Almoners of One allowance race at Keeneland. And Craig, I thought this was pretty visually impressive. She comes wide off the far turn and just mows this field down through the stretch.
Yeah, I thought it was a good race from her. I have no knocks. It got a 97 speed figure, so I think she'd have to get better. What troubled me, not troubled me, but what makes me disregard that victory, maybe not rated as highly as some others, is she got a nice setup that day. We have all the fractions coded in red. She came from pretty far back. So I thought it was a good trip. I would note that she's improving seemingly every single time out. She is getting better. But for me, she's going to have to take another step forward, which certainly isn't out of the realm of possibility for a lately raced 3-year-old from Chad Brown. I just don't know if I want to take anywhere near that 5-2 morning line on that.
Yeah, I do believe she is improving. She's a horse that I had some passing interest in going all the way back to her debut when she was training well into that race. She did not get a good ride in her second start from Julien Leproux. That's a race that you might want to go watch yourself. She arguably could have won that day when she was fourth behind Alka Hero, another horse who's in here who was second, but I thought that Oakhurst ran the better race that day. And subsequently, she's just had 2 decisive victories in a row. As you said, not the fastest speed figures, at least on the Time Form US scale, though she did get a very high buyer for her last race. If you look at those numbers, she got an 88 buyer. And some horses, even if you look at the Time Form US figures coming out of that last race, have subsequently run faster in their next starts. The second and third place finishers, I do believe, fall into that category. So I think there's an argument that Oakhurst's last race might be a little bit better than that 97 figure. And she's going to have to work out a trip coming from off the pace in this small field where there's not a lot of speed signed on. But I do think she's improving at the right time. And I viewed her as the most dangerous of the Chad Brown runners. The third of Chad Brown's trio in here is the number 3 Lakota Spirit. She got on the turf for the first time in her last start. Let's take a look at that race. She broke her maiden at the end of May at Belmont Park, and Craig kind of made you wonder why Chad Brown ran around dirt 3 times, because this just looked like a different horse getting on the turf.
Yeah, it sure did. She obviously got her first win, and she upped her speed figure quite a bit to a 99. Can't really blame them being out of Curlin by a Street Sense mare, by Curlin out of a Street Sense mare. But yeah, she looked like a new horse. As you mentioned earlier on this preview, she is shown second on the pace projector, and I think that would actually be to her benefit here. She's being ridden by Manny Franco, who's been riding really well at Belmont for if people haven't been paying attention. He's been riding as good as everybody there. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is in the position we show right up there, being a little more aggressive, using some of that tactical speed that she's shown. And I expect a pretty big race out of her.
Yeah, I think she's interesting in here as well, and I do have her pegged as the longest price on the morning line. We'll see if she takes any respect off that maiden victory in her last start. Not sure exactly how strong the field was that she was beating that day. There's actually another race later in the day at Belmont Park where some horses that finished behind her are coming back to run. But I like the way that she did it, and there is pedigree on the bottom side for her to pan out to be a nice turf horse. Her dam is actually a half-sister to Chad Brown's champion turf mare Rushing Fall, so I think that pedigree might be coming through as opposed to the closer up influences like Curlin and Street Sense on Lakota Spirit. So an interesting player in this Wild Applause. Let's close out our discussion of the contenders with the one horse we didn't talk about yet, the number 2 Alka Hira. And Craig, she could be loose on the front end, and I think that has to make her one that you consider based on that fact alone.
Yeah, I mean, she is going to be on the front, I would think. I don't see why she wouldn't be. She did run a 97 speed figure, breaking her maiden last time, which is certainly competitive with these. So the others are going to have to be careful in here. You don't want to let this horse go out and set a 49 or 50 pace, which is something that we do see at times in New York. So she is a danger for me. And if I was playing a multi-race bet, I think you have to consider her as one you would use.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't love the turn back to a one-turn mile for this horse, especially watching her last race. She feels like one that really relished the mile and an eighth distance that she got when she broke her maiden. She was really staying on well at the end of that race. She's this leggy, powerfully built daughter of Cairo Prince, who I think has more of a high cruising speed than a big turn of foot. So I'm not sure that I love that for the one-turn mile, but she is showed in front on the pace projector. She probably is going to have a pace advantage, and I don't want to count her out because I do think that she has some talent, and there's not that much separating the favorite from the biggest price in this 5-horse Wild Applause. Craig, let's throw up our picks for this race, and I kind of like this in a 5-horse field. We have different takes, very different picks here. You're going with one of the Chad Brown trainees, as am I, just different ones. The number 5, Eminent Victor, for you.
Yeah, for me, it was just a speed figure thing. Having run that 105 as a 2-year-old in September, even running the same race would win. And I would expect she's going to run faster. And I think the others are really going to have to show up. But I'm not going to dismiss my second choice either, Lakota Spirit. I'm expecting a forwardly placed ride and maybe to get a jump on some of these closers that will be a nicer price.
Yeah, I have a slight take against the two short prices. Breeze Easy, not sure about the distance. Eminent Victor, just thought could take some money coming off the layoff with Flavian Pratt riding that one of the 3 trad bound runners. So wanted to go for some of the bigger prices. I did put the number 1 Oakhurst on top. Would hope to get somewhere around that 5-2 morning line. I just feel like she's the one that's really moving forward at the right time, though she does have to work out a trip from off the pace. And like Craig said, I'm not against that number 3 Lakota Spirit. I have her in there as well at 6-1 on the morning line. And also, I couldn't totally go against that number 2 Alcahira with the big pace advantage that she's likely to enjoy. So many ways to go in this 5-horse Wild Applause on Saturday at Belmont Park. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.